they could buy me. They thought they could buy Africa. They were wrong. 3 weeks ago, Benjamin Netanyahu's government sent me a letter that changed everything, not just for Burkina Faso, but for this entire continent. Let me tell you exactly what happened, because the world needs to hear this story. I was in my office reviewing security reports when my aide brought me an envelope marked Diplomatic Correspondence Confidential. Inside was a proposal that made my blood boil. Israel was offering Burkina Faso $1.2 billion. That's more money than our entire national budget. But this wasn't aid. This was a bribe. They wanted me to stop criticizing their policies. They wanted me to convince other African leaders to go soft on Palestine. They wanted me to become their spokesperson in the African Union. And here's the part that really shows how desperate they were. They wanted me not to seal and shut down their business operations across Africa. For that, they offered me an extra couple of billions on top of everything else. Think about that for a moment. They were so terrified of losing their African business networks that they were willing to pay billions just to keep one soldier quiet. But this wasn't aid. This was a bribe to protect their empire. I read that letter 3 times. Each time, I got angrier. See, these people fundamentally misunderstood who I am. I didn't stage a revolution just to become another puppet dancing for foreign masters. I didn't risk my life overthrowing a corrupt government just to become corrupt myself and protect foreign business interests on my continent. I'm a soldier. Soldiers don't negotiate with people trying to compromise their mission. And my mission is African sovereignty, economic, political, and strategic.
Watch what eggs do to your brain. Take a look at these 2 brain scans. They both look young, strong, and healthy.
When I took power in Burkina Faso, I made a promise to my people. No more foreign interference. No more exploitation disguised as partnership. No more selling our dignity for temporary comfort. That letter was testing whether I meant what I said. The letter came through diplomatic pouches, but the real message was delivered through intermediaries. High-ranking officials from neighboring countries, supposedly friendly advisors, all suggesting I consider the practical benefits of this arrangement. They painted pictures of transformed infrastructure, modern hospitals, upgraded military equipment. They talked about Burkina Faso becoming a regional powerhouse, a model for African development. But every conversation ended the same way. Just tone down the anti-Israeli rhetoric. That's when I realized this wasn't just about one letter. This was a coordinated campaign. They had been watching me, studying me, building a profile of what they thought would make me compromise. They calculated wrong, so I did something they never expected. I called a press conference and read their letter on live television, word for word, including their desperate plea to protect their business operations. You should have seen their faces when that news reached Tel Aviv. Complete panic, because suddenly their secret diplomatic strategy and their business protection scheme was front-page news across Africa. But I wasn't done, not even close. Standing at that podium, I looked directly into the camera and said what needed to be said. They believe our dignity has a price tag. They think African leaders are for sale in a global marketplace. They think they can pay us to protect their business interests while they exploit our people. Today, we prove them wrong. I held up that letter for everyone to see. This document represents everything wrong with how the world sees Africa. They see us as a market, not as people. They see our leaders as employees, not as representatives of sovereign nations. The silence in that room was deafening. Journalists who had covered African politics for decades later told me they had never seen anything like it. A leader voluntarily exposing an offer of billions of dollars. That moment changed everything. Within hours, Africa Not for Sale was trending in 14 countries. But this wasn't just social media noise. This was a continental awakening. Mali reviewed every Israeli contract. Niger recalled their ambassador from Tel Aviv. Chad suspended diplomatic talks. Ghana's president, who never takes sides, publicly supported our position. South Africa called our response a masterclass in dignified leadership. But here's what really scared them. The youth responded. Students in Senegal organized protests demanding transparency on all foreign aid deals. Young people in Kenya launched campaigns questioning their government's foreign relationships. Artists across West Africa created murals celebrating our refusal to be bought and our commitment to protecting African economic interests. University campuses across the continent erupted in solidarity. From Cairo to Cape Town, young Africans were sharing clips of my speech. They weren't just supporting Burkina Faso, they were supporting the idea that Africa could say no. The youth movement that emerged was unlike anything we'd seen before. They called themselves the Uncompromised Generation. They demanded accountability from every leader, transparency in every deal, and dignity in every international relationship. For the first time in decades, Africa was saying no with one voice. The reaction from international capitals was swift and telling. Netanyahu's team went into full damage control. According to sources in Tel Aviv, the prime minister was furious. He reportedly said, "Traoré turned a private agreement into a weapon against us." Good. That was exactly my intention.
Sets.
Treat us like children who don't understand geopolitics. We understand perfectly. We just refuse to play by your rules. The immediate aftermath was chaotic. My security team went on high alert. Foreign intelligence services suddenly became very interested in Burkina Faso. Economic pressure started building. Aid delays, trade complications, banking difficulties. But something incredible happened. Other African nations started filling the gaps. Nigeria offered trade deals. Ghana provided banking alternatives. South Africa opened new diplomatic channels. We discovered something powerful. Africa helping Africa works. 3 days after exposing their letter, I addressed university students in Bobo Dioulasso. No prepared speech, no military ceremony, just truth. The auditorium was packed. Students had traveled from across West Africa to hear what I had to say. The energy was electric. I told them, for decades they told us to stay quiet, accept what's given, say thank you when we're ignored, and protect their business interests while our people suffered. But now they come to us because they fear what happens when Africa wakes up. I could see it in their eyes. Recognition, hope, determination. Then I asked them a simple question. Should we go back to silence, or do we speak louder? The answer was deafening. 5,000 students erupted in celebration. That sound? That was the sound of a generation refusing to be silenced or bought. But the students wanted more than just words. They wanted action. What's next? They shouted. How do we build on this? So I told them, we audit every foreign contract. We demand transparency in every deal. We build our own economic networks. We trade with each other first, the world second. We stop exporting raw materials and start building factories. We stop being suppliers and become manufacturers. The crowd went wild because finally, someone was talking about practical steps, not just inspirational speeches. I continued. We create African development banks. We launch African satellite networks. We build African universities that rival any in the world. We develop African pharmaceutical companies. We establish African technology hubs. Each point independence. Since then, everything has changed. Every backroom deal now risks exposure. Every shady offer could be televised tomorrow. Every attempt to divide Africa just unifies us faster than they expected. Every business arrangement that exploits Africa now faces scrutiny. My own cabinet initially had concerns. What if they retaliate? Some asked. What if they cut off existing aid? I told them what I'll tell you now. Any aid that comes with strings attached isn't aid, it's control. Any partnership that requires our silence isn't partnership, it's subjugation. Within a week of my speech, 5 other African leaders called me directly, not through diplomatic channels, personal calls. How do we do what you did? They asked. The answer is simple. You stop being afraid, but fear runs deep. Generations of African leaders were taught to be grateful for foreign attention, to accept whatever terms were offered, to never demand equality. Breaking that psychological colonization is harder than breaking physical chains. Western media tried to spin this as Traoré escalates tensions or Burkina Faso risks isolation.
4 major signs it's not your first time living on Earth.
In past life you were a healer. Take a test.
And sitting there small at the table texting my father. He went to the same struggle as me.
But they missed the point entirely. We're not isolated, we're connected. Connected to our people, our values, our future. And that connection is our strength. The business community initially panicked. Stock prices of companies with major African operations dropped. Mining companies, agricultural exporters, tech firms, they all started reassessing their African strategies. But here's what they discovered. We're not anti-business, we're anti-exploitation. Companies that pay fair wages, respect environmental standards, and contribute to local development are welcome. Companies that extract wealth while leaving poverty behind need to change or leave. The smart companies adapted quickly. They renegotiated contracts, improved working conditions, invested in local communities. They realized that partnership was more profitable than exploitation in the long run. Israel thought they were dealing with just another African leader, hungry for foreign investment and willing to protect foreign business interests. Instead, they awakened a continent tired of being treated like a marketplace and a protection racket. The ripple effects continue expanding. Regional organizations are reviewing their foreign partnership agreements. Trade unions are demanding better terms for African workers in foreign companies. Civil society groups are publishing transparency reports on foreign aid flows. African stock markets initially wobbled, but then stabilized, as investors realized that transparency actually reduced risk. Corruption and secret deals create instability. Open, fair agreements create predictable business environments. The message from that letter with billions in bribes was clear. We think you can be bought to protect our interests. My response was equally clear. We cannot be bought, will not be bought, and will expose anyone who tries to buy us or use us to protect their exploitation. This isn't about being anti-anyone. This is about being pro-Africa, pro-dignity, pro-sovereignty, pro-economic independence. When foreign powers approach us now, they know the rules have changed. Treat us as equals, or deal with the consequences. Respect our independence, or watch us choose our own path. Do honest business, or find another continent to exploit. Because here's the truth, they're just beginning to understand. Africa is not for sale. Our resources are not for plunder. Our leaders are not for purchase. Never was, never will be. And any leader who tries to sell us out will answer to the people of this continent. The transformation isn't just political, it's generational. Young Africans are building tech companies, starting manufacturing businesses, creating art that celebrates African identity. They're not waiting for foreign approval or foreign investment. They're building the future themselves. This is just the beginning. Every day, more African leaders are finding their courage. Every day, more young Africans are demanding accountability. Every day, this continent grows stronger and more economically independent. They wanted to buy one president to protect their empire. Instead, they awakened 1.4 billion Africans to take control of their own destiny. That was their mistake, and our victory. The revolution continues, not with guns, but with dignity, not with violence, but with truth, not with foreign approval, but with African unity, not with protecting foreign business, but with building African prosperity. This is Ibrahim Traore, and this is our time. Africa is rising, and we're just getting started.
Most people over 40 use ChatGPT like